Well, good afternoon, everyone. Today is, what is today? It's June 13th, I believe, and I'm testing out the webcam and recording functionality of this computer. Hopefully it'll be decent. I think so. I'm looking at it on screen and it looks halfway decent, so yeah. And I apologize for the air conditioner. It's really hot today. They say so rare is a day in June, and today is not one of those rare days, so. But the topic that I wanted to discuss today has to do with AI, the alleged robotic future, and all of that jazz. Everybody's kind of freaking out in the tech community that automation is going to take over jobs, and that the only viable recourse is to go into some sort of dystopian society rooted in a different economic and social scheme, aka not capitalism, that sort of thing. And I have some opinions on this and I just wanted to share them. I really don't think that the future is going to be like many people are speculating, where machines take over everything. As it stands now, just in case you haven't been keeping up on the whole AI and automation, machine learning, that whole world in the realm of technology, there are a lot of devices that are that they have the potential to take over jobs. So, for warehouses, there are robots that can stack packages. There's this burger flipping robot named Flippy that can flip burgers in restaurants faster and more efficiently than humans can, fry cooks. There's, of course, IBM's Watson and many other projects that are similar to Watson to do more specific tasks, and they're all taking over smaller portions of the white-collar job, or they have the potential to anyway, allegedly. Even programmers and developers, sort of the area that I want to go into, they're saying that these robots have the ability to go and copy and paste code and modify it in order to use it however they need it to be used, so that essentially the machines are going to program themselves. And so, of course, everybody's concerned that humans are essentially obsolete and that no one's going to be able to be employed except for a small minority, and we're going to be living in probably the worst dystopian society that one could imagine. I really don't think that that's going to come to fruition, not in the way we think. And there are a couple of reasons why I am speculating this. The first one is people have a tendency to adapt. There are so many professions that have come and gone in the past. The television repairman's one of them. The milkman's another. There are still people that repair televisions and deliver your milk, but they're few and far in between, and nobody goes and gets those jobs anymore. But the thing is, where one job fades away, another one tends to come too. Because whenever you have newer technology that replaces old technology, you have a bunch of problems. Because there's no such thing as a perfect technology. I mean, you may not have somebody repairing your television anymore, but on the other hand, TVs are disposable now, so you're going to have more people selling them at Best Buy or wherever, and it's creating more jobs in the actual industry itself that creates them. The point is that throughout the years, professions have come and gone. You don't see livery stables around anymore, but did that send the economy down into an endless spiral? No, because then came the automotive industry. And as much as we'd like to think that robots can do everything, they really can't, because you're forgetting that robots, artificial intelligence, and all of that is created by people. At the end of the day, it's people that create it. People are imperfect, people make mistakes, and so there are going to be imperfections in these technologies that need to be sorted out. Who would have thought back when they were selling the first personal computers that there would have been an entire industry needed to deal with malware? That's one thing that's come and gone. No one would have ever thought that you would need an entire company that would push out antivirus updates every 5 minutes because there were so many people trying to make money off of stealing people's data and whatnot. And of course now the malware industry is kind of in a slump. It's still around though. It's in a slump, but that's just one example of a problem that needed to be fixed, and as a result jobs were created. And again, a lot of this speculation that this technology, this AI, can replace people, it's just that, it's speculation. In theory it works, but as is the case very often, in theory something may work, in practice it's not so successful. But really that's the less compelling argument that I have to make. The bigger argument is there's already so much technology that could be taking jobs, but that isn't. Case in point, self-checkouts. The only stores I know that really have the majority of the checkouts are self-checkouts are Home Depot. I don't know about Lowe's, maybe Lowe's is the same way, but I know Home Depot, and then this store that we have here in New England called BJ's. It's a private store, kind of like Sam's Club, Berkeley and Jensen's. They're primarily self-checkouts there as well. But pretty much any other big box store, what do you see? You go into Walmart, you go into Target, you go into Stop and Shop, you go into Shaw's, even stores like JCPenney, even dollar stores. What do you usually have? You have like 10 or 12 normal cash registers with actual cashiers behind them, and then you have 3 self-checkouts way down at the other end that no one ever uses. Because people don't really like self-checkouts. Why don't they like self-checkouts? There are a number of reasons, but one of them is that half of the time you need an attendant to come and scan your boxes or to put in a special code, because you're not allowed to buy something yourself, especially if you buy something that's in like a protective case, with like smaller technology that's really expensive. They'll put it in like anti-theft cases, so it makes it harder to shoplift, and then somebody has to open it for you. So basically when you go to a self-checkout, it's not making anything easier most of the time. It just makes things more annoying because you have to do all of the effort that a cashier would do yourself, and then you need an attendant for half the transactions. So in theory we could replace all cashiers, not just in big box stores either, but in restaurants as well. That there are automated cash registers in a lot of restaurants. But the most restaurants actually have people that will take your orders for you, because people like the convenience of not having to manually pay attention to what they're putting into a computer. They don't want to have to think about it. They just want to say, I want a Big Mac and fries, and have somebody else press the buttons for them. It's all about convenience. And that's the thing with technology. A lot of the technology that people thought would take off hasn't taken off. Even when it comes to like smartphones, how many apps are there on your smartphone that you take advantage of? Like even on an iPhone, I remember when Apple introduced, Reminders, Passbook, what are some of the other ones on here? Reminders, Tips, Wallet, Health. Those aren't the best examples. The point is, there are so many features that are built into these things that we never end up taking advantage of just because it's easier not to use them. Like it's easier to actually write down your to-do list on a piece of paper and then crumple it up and throw it away than having to unlock your phone, type it in on the small keyboard, and half the time you're actually going to do it before the little reminder pops up. And if you're lazy, you're not going to do it when the reminder pops up. So half the time using the features on here is more trouble than it's worth, and we just go back to doing things with pen and paper. How many features are there in Microsoft Word that we don't take advantage of? There are so many features that people don't even know exist. Do you know you could make a bibliography in there? People don't know that because a lot of times it's just too fussy to use it. Even though in theory it should be convenient, it's not. And this is the case with technology that's supposed to be taking jobs. It's just not what people want. And also, even though they've taken some jobs, automated cash registers have taken some jobs, they've still left others. Same thing with automatic teller machines. You go to the ATM at the bank, but there are still tellers inside. It's not like there's no one manning the banks at all. And also with self-driving cars, and of course that's not self-driving cars in and of themselves, people don't associate that with taking jobs, but you know, once Uber gets their hands on self-driving cars, or bus services, taxi services, um, big rig trucks, so that you can eliminate the trucker, things like that, people forget that there's going to be a lot of problems with those as well, and they might not be as ubiquitous as we think they're going to be. For instance, I can imagine being in a self-driving car, and like if you're on your yard and you need your driveway paved or whatever, and you want to move it like onto a particular spot on the grass, how are you going to communicate to your car that you want it to move to that exact spot that you have in your mind? You're going to say, okay, I want to go over there. No, not there, like right here. But I want you to be parked. Oh, how do I word this? And, you know, even if your car can recognize your speech and you can, like, physically tell it, or verbally tell it, rather, what to do, a lot of times it's a lot harder than just putting it in manual mode and driving it there yourself. I don't think that people are going to take as kindly to self-driving cars as we think they are. I think that they're going to have steering wheels, gas and brake, just like normal cars, and that you're going to be able to drive them manually, and that the self-driving feature is just one of those things that you might use for convenience here and there, but by and large, you're probably going to want to drive it yourself. Also, you know, people, if you're running late, what do? You put the pedal to the metal. Self-driving cars aren't going to put the pedal to the metal. People don't like that, so they're probably going to put it in manual and gun it themselves and go over the speed limit. And so you have those problems just with the consumer end. But what about the other end too, with, you know, Uber using self-driving cars, taxi services using self-driving cars, or the trucking industry? There are probably a ton of problems like that that you and I haven't thought of yet that are going to plague the whole self-driving concept, especially when it comes to like if you're going to have somebody delivering gasoline. Would you really trust a computer-driven car or a computer-driven tanker truck to deliver gasoline? It seems to me that there would be a lot of safety ramifications that it just wouldn't work out too well. Tanker trucks have a tendency to go boom really easily. If you've ever seen a tanker truck in an accident before, they almost always get engulfed in flames. And something tells me that as glitchy as some of these computer systems, even in regular cars, have been proven to be in the past, I don't think that people are going to want to put computers that have a tendency to be buggy in charge of these tasks. I just think that there's a large margin of error and that people aren't thinking this through in depth enough. Is artificial intelligence going to take some jobs? Yeah, it's going to take some jobs. Does that mean that everyone's going to be out of the job? No. In fact, it might end up creating more jobs. Really, it's going to be implemented at such a rate that we're probably going to be able to adapt. And there's going to be more things that pop up next. I mean, at one time in American history, how did the average person make a living? Farming, blacksmithing, run a general store. You know, doing crafts. You might be a cobbler. You might make shoes for people. You might be a carpenter making things out of wood. Half of those aren't even viable anymore. Even running a general store, you really can't compete with big box stores anymore. So when you think about it, all of the jobs that we had at one time in American history were all made obsolete. Did we go into some dystopian society? No, we adapted. With new technology came new jobs. And I think with artificial intelligence and machine learning will come new jobs that people can't think of, that I can't think of right now, and that we won't be able to think of until this technology is implemented and we start encountering problems. So that's just my thoughts. If you have thoughts, feel free to comment below. I hope this video wasn't too terrible. Just trying to test out this webcam. It's a whole lot more convenient than setting up the tripod, and also it's HD for those of you who like HD. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I don't know what I just did there. I kind of like it. See ya.